Well, she became the National Disability Affairs reporter for the ABC back in May, but Nas Campanella has been across our radio and airwaves for many years. Famously, it's Triple J's Newsreader. At just 6 months old, blood vessels burst in the back of her eyes, detaching her retinas and leaving her vision impaired. But she has not let it stop her. Nas is the first vision-impaired person in the world to do news live to air independently, and she joins us now to tell us how she does it. Nas, welcome to the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Look, there's so much to talk to you about. I've become a big fan of yours. I watch a lot of ABC News 24. I see you pop up a lot. And how important is it for people with disabilities to be seen doing their job just like everybody else?
I think it's really important. I remember when I was growing up, there was no one like me who was in a reporting role on national television. And, you know, obviously I knew of brilliant musicians, Paralympians, but I'm not good at sport. I wasn't good at music. And it would have just been great to have someone as a role model who I guess in a sense was doing something that was seen as ordinary, you know, just someone who was just a reporter or a writer or whatever it might be. And it's not that those jobs are necessarily ordinary. They're wonderful. I do them. But, you know, not every person with disability is good at sport or wants to be a Paralympian, you know. It is what so many people say, that if you don't know that there's someone out there doing something like that, or, you know, if you don't see it, then it is hard for you to imagine.
Well, when you don't have a role model, become your own role model. That's what I say. Look, I want to talk about an article you wrote last week that has gained a lot of attention and traction. It was about an encounter you had on a train years ago. Tell us a bit about what happened.
It was a fairly mundane task, really, when you think about it, just heading out to a train to visit some friends on my own. I was sitting there with my headphones in. I was tapped on the shoulder by a complete stranger, and he wanted to know some fairly personal stuff, like, you know, how did you lose your sight and what happened to your eyes, and questions like that. And so I sort of explained, look, that's really personal, and I was just wanting to listen to my podcasts and didn't really feel up for a chat, but he kind of kept going, and I sort of, in a sense, felt obliged to answer the questions. And generally I do, because I feel like it's a really good opportunity for people to learn and create awareness of disability and all of that sort of thing. But the conversation kind of ended with him saying that if he was me, he wouldn't want to live. And it left me feeling really sad and really frustrated, because I felt like myself and so many other disability advocates in my community had been talking about disability in our lives and how worthwhile they were for so long, and trying to raise that awareness and change those negative perceptions around the way people viewed our lives. And I felt like maybe I hadn't been working hard enough to do that, and it was really sad.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting point, isn't it? Because sometimes if you see someone with a disability, you don't know whether to ask them about it or not.
I think for me, it's all about the context. If you are not, you know, coming up to me while I'm sitting there listening to a podcast on a train when you don't know me is not the right context to ask that kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree.
People come up to me in the middle of the street and want to know, you know, where I'm off to because I'm dressed so nice and on my own. And it's like, well, would you say that to anybody else who you saw walking on their own on the side of the road dressed nicely? It's because I've got a disability, and it's all about context. You know, if we're sitting in a group situation or at a party and we've sort of met and we've had a chat, we've gotten to know each other a little bit, you know, fine, fair enough.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. I couldn't agree more. Look, you are an inspiration, and you're a bloody good reporter. And that's what I like about you. And in 2011, you were offered a cadetship at the ABC. Prior to that, what was your experience trying to get a job in the TV industry? Because the TV industry can be cutthroat.
At that point in time, I wasn't actually looking for a job in television. I was simply looking for a job in journalism. And so putting the TV side of it, you know, overlooking that, I just found it hard to get a job in general. And a lot of people with disability do. They still do. I've been at the ABC for 10 years. So I was looking for my job, a decade ago, and the figures are still really bad of people who don't have work.
Yeah.
And the instances of people experiencing discrimination in the same way I did, potentially even worse, still remain incredibly high and very prevalent. And not looking at the fact that I had a huge portfolio of published work, ignoring the fact that I had a great CV and high profile references who could vouch for my work and my work ethic. All of that was overlooked because people just saw the disability and thought nothing more.
Look, you did a TED Talk last year about your life and career, and I just want to play one really fascinating part of it. You had an audio grab of what you would hear when you were reading the news at Triple J. This is all while you were paneling the desk at the same time. Let's have a listen to that.
High Court citizens and soccer qualifiers. G'day, Nas Campanella with Triple J News. Labour frontbencher Penny Wong has accused the Prime Minister of acting like a tin pot dictator over his threats to send opposition MPs to the High Court. So far, the MPs and senators with question marks over their...
Now, that is just incredible. Tell us what's going on there.
So there are 4 audio streams that you can hear there. The first one is obviously, the grabs and the sounds that are coming into my ear that I need to play during the bulletins. And I did need to play during the bulletins. And then Jaws, which is the little robotic Americanized voice reading the scripts into my ear. And then I obviously listen and repeat what I'm hearing. I can also hear myself through the microphone. And then there was a clock kind of counting me in and out because the bulletins were always very strictly timed. So there's a lot going on, and you do that while also I've got one hand on the laptop maneuvering through the scripts, and then the other hand on the panel, and that's obviously doing all the work on the buttons and the faders and things like that.
Well, look, I have been a producer in the control room talking in people's ears while they've been talking, and no one that I've ever worked with, and I highly respect, could do that.
I really struggled at the beginning, and it's like anything. You do it time and time again, and it gets easier and better and more seamless. And, when I first started doing it, gosh, there were so many mistakes and so many. I've had the desk completely die on me. I've had the laptop die on me.
Well, Naz, I think you are brilliant. Thank you for being on the Ben Robin Robbo Show. We can see you on ABC News through the various platforms, the 7 p.m. news, ABC 24. I think we often hear you on radio as well. Naz, thank you for being with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
It's the Ben Robin Robbo, Ben Robin Robbo Show. Ben Robin Robbo Show.